Hi there, Ryan Castle here. I'm the founder of Clarity Flow, and I'm the host of our show here, Clarity Cast, where I am talking to coaches and community leaders on how they connect with clients and how they grow their coaching practice and business. So today, in one of my first interviews in this series, I'm talking to Justin Wise. He is a longtime coach and community leader. You can find all of his stuff on his website at justinwise.net and his new domain, differentcompany.io. So Justin has been running a really interesting coaching and course programs for business owners looking to leverage content to attract leads organically and, more importantly, build trust. So we talked a lot about that, and a few interesting things from this interview, which we'll get into. Justin's transition from the church world, working in the church, to selling courses, to getting into coaching, but then more recently getting into asynchronously delivered coaching programs. And what was really interesting when we got into talking about that transition was it started as the driver for him originally was personal for him to find more calm, free up his time, not be so tied to these live calls all the time. But what the actual outcome was that clients were getting a better outcome. They're more able to take action. And we also talked about how his style of coaching and his programs actually attract more action-oriented clients. And that's the key recipe for success here. We got into a lot of other stuff, including how his clients actually build trust in him over time, how to keep his marketing, automation, and funnels simple, how Justin deals with imposter syndrome as a coach and how that comes out in his interactions with clients, and how it actually can be kind of flipped on its head to actually work in both his and his clients' favor. A lot of really interesting and insightful nuggets in this one. I hope you get a lot out of it. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Justin Wise. Enjoy. Justin Wise, great to connect with you again. How you doing, man?
Brian, thanks for the invite. Good to see you, man. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. You and I hung out together at Chris Lemma's event down in Cabo Press. In Cabo, it was called Cabo Press, and I got to know you a bit down there, so it was fun. Good to connect again. Unfortunately, not as sunny and beautiful as Mexico right now, but
not as illustrious as lounging by the beach.
That's right.
Sipping Mai Tais and
in a quote unquote business conference.
Yeah, right. Cavorting about.
So let's just kick this off. I don't want to do the typical question like, tell me what you and your business do today. Instead, I want to take a kind of a twist on that and take it from the perspective of one or two of your customers, of your clients, maybe someone who you're working with currently or recently, like through their lens. Can you tell us, who they are and how they came across your stuff and how they are engaged with you and maybe what they're going through working with you?
Yeah, so I got this guy, Eric. Eric just graduated our program. Program's called Clients and Content, right? And he came in. The whole premise of the program is more clients, less content. And it's based off of essentially the last 10 years of me launching and running, both an info product agency and info product business and an agency. So Eric came in and was basically saying, hey, I need more clients. And I want to be able to create content that, attracts the right people and brings them in the door. And I want you to help me. So he did, but what's a little bit different about our program is we take kind of a holistic approach, meaning Michael Hyatt said a good marketing makes a bad product fail faster. And I've always loved that so much because being in marketing the last 10 years, I've seen that firsthand where, especially in the agency, if you give someone 100 leads, but their back end essentially of their business is not optimized to handle 100 leads, let alone convert a certain percentage of those people, forget it. It doesn't matter how good your marketing is.
Yeah.
So I kind of, our program, at least through the lens of Eric, he's like, I want to grow my business and I want to, attract the right people and all that kind of stuff that we can help folks with.
So like he was doing sort of like generalist marketing services, consulting, but it wasn't really like a system and didn't have like, he was getting clients like through like word of mouth, but there isn't like an engine that's bringing good leads to him. Was that it?
Yeah, exactly. It was primarily, he runs a music school, and it was primarily word of mouth and referral. And he was producing content, but I heard this somewhere, I don't remember where, but it fits how most people approach, or most business owners approach content. They use what's called the hope method. Throw something out there and hope that it works.
Right.
And it's not their fault. It's what we kind of all have learned to do. We hear these words of like, oh, well, you got to create content and just add value and build your email list. But no one's really like, at least that I found, is pulling this together in a way that makes sense for the everyday business owner and also makes it achievable and doable for them. So we have a system, and the other thing too is most of the people we work with, they're not in marketing. Like that's what I do day in, day out. But the regular everyday business owner, they're doing their business, whether it's a roofing company. We have a commercial juice manufacturing company right now. We have a music school operator. We have coaches and consultants. But their business is their business. They're not thinking about marketing. So what we want to do is make it super easy. And so for Eric, the cool part about Eric's story is like, yeah, okay, he used our system, built it in his business, installed it, deployed it, and was able to get clients showing up who already knew, liked, and trusted him. Mm-hmm. But he also got an offer on his business.
Oh, yeah.
Because an acquirer, what do they want? They want something that's going to work, turnkey, out of the box, where it's not contingent and dependent on the owner. And marketing is a huge component of that. If you have a system in place that's not the owner going out and drumming up business, that's tremendously valuable to an acquirer.
I love it. So, I mean, folks who are connecting with you today through your programs, I would have thought that they were more like you with your background, like, coming from the marketing agency world, they're looking to optimize their agency just like you did. But it sounds like, you're reaching like small business owners, coaches, kind of a wide range of types of business owners. Is that right?
Yeah, it just kind of happened that way where like I just find myself really resonating with and able to help the businesses that are like, you have to have something. Okay. And what I mean by that is you have to already have momentum, a converting offer. You have to have an established business. Mm-hmm. And no discredit to coaches and consultants, but a lot of them will get into that, arena. And I don't want to say it's a side hustle, but it takes a while to get that machine going if you want to do it right.
Right.
So we work really well with folks who already have an established business. They've been trying marketing. They've done everything under the sun. They're usually at $250,000 or more in revenue. Like I've found that's just a minimum because they have the time, the headspace, almost, the owner does, to think through this stuff strategically and actually work on their business instead of being stuck in their business. Mm-hmm. Whereas like coaches and consultants, they're in their business almost all the time.
Right.
So it's not that it can't work for a coach and consultant. We have coaches and consultants who come through our program all the time. It just tends to work best when you have something that people already want. You've grown your business to its limit using word of mouth and referral, and you need something extra. Yep. That's who we're going to help the best. So
what is it actually specifically that a typical client like Eric would be engaging with, right? Like I'm kind of curious. I'll get a little bit more into like how you market and grow your audience and leads for your stuff. But like, how did Eric find you, and then what exactly did he buy? Is it like a course program with some coaching, community? Like, what are the components that happen?
Yeah, so oddly enough, we're actually changing it. You'll like this. You'll enjoy this. This was totally impromptu too, by the way. We are completely changing our program as we integrate Clarity Flow more and more. And I can talk about that here in a second. Because up until about 3 months, well, about 2.5 months ago, it was your standard coaching program format, right? You have a live call every week. You have a core curriculum and a dashboard, and people attend the live calls or not, and they ask questions or don't, and go through the program. And at the time, it was a 6-month program, and so that was fine. It was good. I've done a ton of coaching programs like that, and the system, that we use, it's 4 steps. It's the same system I use in my own business. It is, I follow you online. I love your content. I get your emails. How do we work together? Mm-hmm. So I follow you online. I love your content. I get your emails. How do we work together? That's what we help install, if you will, in our clients' businesses, is those 4 points. So we want them at the end moving their ideal prospects from point A to point 4.
I like it.
And everywhere in between.
Yeah. Very cool.
So, but a quick aside.
So they were doing like I guess you can call it typical like group coaching, live calls once a week. They were getting access to a community space.
Yeah, so like we use Slack, right? Mm-hmm. And Slack's good for some things. But I just was finding that the ability to really connect with people in a way that didn't include me or my program assistant, Cheryl, like constantly being on Slack. Mm-hmm. And furthermore, like there's many times in our program where I have to show them, like I need to show them my screen. And we would primarily use, let's say, Loom. Then you got to take a Loom link and copy it into Slack. And then sometimes people would comment on the Slack message. Sometimes they comment on the Loom message.
Yeah, and where is this, like the conversation is getting broken up and fragmented in all these different places. And
yes.
Yeah.
And furthermore, like this was a really interesting perspective that I did not consider, because I've always done that live kind of weekly format for my coaching programs. And I've done coaching programs off and on since 2016. And I had a dear client, she said to me, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that we're moving to this new model." And the new model is, 100% on Clarity Flow, which again, we can talk about that in a second. But she's like, "I love it so much because, no discredit to you, but the calls were at a point in my week where I was in the flow of my work. So I was in the zone doing what I do, and I would have to stop that, come into my office, log onto the computer, and attend the call if I wanted to get the value out of the week's session." And so now she's like, "Now I can just do it on my own time." And I'm like, "Yes, you can."
Man, I love it when people hit on that exact point, because I've experienced this obviously. Like every day I use our own product. This is not to promote the product, but this is more just about asynchronous in general.
Yeah.
Moving from live calls to a format where you have space in between the messages it's so much more than just the convenience of it. It's like my teammates and I, or people that I'm working with, instead of getting on a call and I might have a question like, "Hey, how are we going to handle this?" The person on the other end, if we're on a live, they would have to have an answer right now. Like they're on the spot. They have to blurt out whatever comes to mind right now. But instead, if I can ask the question, then later when they have time, or tomorrow after they have a night to sleep on it or take some notes or do some research and then come back to me, now they have so much more to contribute, a better, just more space to have a more productive conversation. And like you said, like if you're in the middle of a day, you don't want to just like cut everything out, cut yourself out of the flow, right? So I love it.
Yeah, to go along with that point, we had a gentleman, I don't know, he's probably in the program now 6 months ago. And he at the end, I mean, this is completely candid. This is total candor. But he's like at the end, yeah, I asked him, I said, what did you think? What was your experience like? And he said, well, I was kind of bummed. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I attended every call and I still don't feel like I'm any further ahead than I was when I started. And I thought, that's really interesting because you could see it in the attendance. He was there. We take, we track this. He was at every call. But then when I dug in further, I was like, okay, well, you've attended every call, but like your modules, you haven't touched them. And like the stuff that we talked about on the call, I don't, unless I'm totally missing it, I don't see it being implemented anywhere on your social channels, your email list. Like I don't see it anywhere. And so it's kind of that, untraining people to think, well, it butts and seats time. That's what's valuable. No, it's not.
Right.
What's valuable is you take the information and you apply it. I'm here to help you. If you get stuck, that's the whole point of the coaching program. But the end goal is not showing up to a Zoom call once a week. That's not the end goal.
Right. How are you doing that? Like, how are you structuring bridging the gap between delivering content, giving them the training and the concepts with actually training them to take action or helping them take their own lead and take action and implement? Like, how do you bridge the gap between like content and actual coaching?
Probably the best thing we've ever done is give people immediately when they join, we do three things. One, we book an onboarding call. That onboarding call is there to basically chart a custom path. So we have,
and that's one-to-one for each person, or
correct.
Okay.
That's live. So we do that. That's now a live. That's the only live component of our coaching program.
Okay.
So we do a one onboarding call, and I will take them through our onboarding process, and basically we chart a path. And we have about 50 modules in our members portal, and based on where they want to go, what they have, in terms of assets already, and just kind of their runway, take that into consideration, and then basically prescribe, okay, I want you hitting module, the power pitch module, your founder story module, your instant attention module, and, the newsletter module. And I want those to be accomplished in the next 30 days. We also have a generic kind of 30-day blueprint. So the second they join, they know step by step what they need to be doing in those first 30 days to maximize their opportunities. And so that's kind of like,
and that'll be like different for each person, right? Like somebody might come in with, they're already pretty solid in one area, but these are the gaps that this person has. So you'll point them to those modules.
Yeah. So like those 4 areas I was telling you about earlier, I follow you online. I love your content. I get your emails. How do we work together? I almost look at those as like tracks. So it's identifying where is this person, where do they have the biggest challenge in their business? Do they need to beef up their social presence? Do they need to keep a consistent content rhythm? Do they need to move their social followers from, these channels to an email list? Or are they having problems on the conversion side? And then you can kind of say, okay, based on what you have at the ready and where you want to get to, here's where I'm going to point you. And the coaching platform is there for when you get stuck. And I have people in our program that I hear from daily. I have people in our program that I hear from weekly. And I have one guy that will get a hold of me like once a month.
Nice.
And that's all he needs.
Yeah. I mean, everyone kind of takes action and gets value in different ways. I love it.
And one quick thing. What this has allowed me to do, so I know this isn't solely around Clarity Flow, but I love Clarity Flow. It's totally opened up a whole new world. And I'll tell you what, like, I don't know how the mathematics on this work, but every client is getting more interaction with me personally. but I am less busy. I don't know how it works. And furthermore, we're seeing better results for clients. So again, I don't know how the mathematics, it's probably quantum mathematics or something like that. It's like Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's coaching program or something. But so far, people, it takes the right client too. And this is the other thing I'm learning is like, you have to have the right client to be comfortable with this type of coaching program. Because if you have a client that, like the gentleman I was saying earlier, where their evaluation spectrum for success is I show up to a call and magically things will just happen in my business.
Yeah.
No. No, 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 no. Yeah, cool. Come to the call. But what we're finding that people that really resonate, they're already action takers. They're just like, just tell me what to do and I'll go do it. And so that really aligns well with not only, the coaching program we have itself, but also our philosophy as a business. It's like, I don't want to have to, like, entrepreneurship's hard enough to make it harder on yourself. No one's going to come along and magically like wave a wand and just do this stuff for you. You're in this coaching program so I can show you exactly what to do, but I can't do it for you.
Hey, just a quick break to tell you about Clarity Flow. It's the software tool loved by coaches and their clients for communicating asynchronously in threaded conversations using video, audio, or text. My team and I designed Clarity Flow for the modern day coach. It lets you give clients a single place to engage with you and all that you offer through your coaching business. Run coaching groups, cohorts, and communities using our Spaces feature. Create interactive courses using our Programs feature. Build your coaching library with templates and reusable content. And sell access to your coaching programs with subscriptions or one-time payments. Customize colors and connect your domain to give clients a fully branded experience. You can use Clarity Flow on the web or our mobile apps for iPhone, iPad, or Android. And connect any other apps using our Zapier integration. Start with a free trial or request a personalized demo and consultation by going to clarityflow.com. This was actually, I wanted to get into sort of your operations a little bit later, but I'll get into it now. This move that you've been making currently from the live format, the live weekly calls, the Slack community, and now, you're all asynchronous. You and your clients are using Clarity Flow. Was the driver for that more about freeing up your time and maybe bringing more calm into your life in running this type of business? Or was it more about this is a better way to drive results for your clients? Because like you were saying, like the async aspect, they can still have the interaction with you, but what they really want to do is take action. Like which one was the one that like sort of drove you to start to make this change in how you deliver your program?
That's a great question. It's probably 51-49. 51% personal. So again, this is another Michael Hyatt quote. Start in the way you wish to continue. So I had a friend, we're in kind of a mastermind together. He said to me, he goes, what does the successful version of this look like? Meaning your coaching program. And do you want it? And so I thought to myself, man, that's a great question. So let's extrapolate a little bit. Let's say I have 100 clients in the coaching program. And they all show, let's say 50% of them show up every week to a coaching call. 50 people on a 1-hour call? Ooh, that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't compute. And not only that, I know inevitably what would happen. Because, one thing we did make available to clients was, hey, we have this group coaching call, but I can also, me, Justin, I can do one-on-one calls with you as needed. And so I started to see that the more clients we got, the bigger the group calls got, the more one-on-one requests started to pile in. And I just thought, this is not sustainable. I'm going to have to hire multiple coaches. And not that that's bad or wrong, but I've done that before. And I wasn't ready to do that again. And so that's when I started looking for alternate solutions, all the way from I'm just going to shut this coaching program down to we're just going to move entirely to one-on-one. And then asynchronous was kind of that really happy medium. And so yeah, it was totally personal and just looking at, okay, vision wise, where is this business going to be in 10 years? Okay, now let's extrapolate backwards 5 years. Okay, 1 year. And I don't want to grow this massive team of coaches, so what's the solution? There's got to be a solution. That was kind of the impetus to move towards that. And then when we started doing it, I started to see, like, we've had 2 people graduate in the last month, and they've both said, this is the greatest coaching program I've ever been in. And I was like, whoa, that's a big deal.
It's a bold statement.
And 2 people independent of each other, they had no idea that the other person said it. But that to me is it's not a humble brag. It's an indicator. It's a signal amongst the noise to say, okay, what we're doing here is working, and it's manageable for me, and I can build a team around this model easier than I can around, hiring multiple coaches.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, I wanted to ask you, so like, what does your team look like right now?
It's me and my VA.
Nice.
Lean and mean. Now, I'm starting to, plan into the future, and that won't be possible forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't foresee a need. I mean, this could easily be. So this coaching program, we started it November of last year. And, I don't foresee a need of hiring anybody full time, at least until Q4 of this year, maybe even to Q1 of next year.
Nice.
It'll take a little bit more time.
Because process-wise, there's a lot of moving parts, but not all of them require you on camera talking to someone.
Yes.
But you can still deliver a lot of you without you clicking the buttons and hitting reply all the time, right? Like that's where the VA. So like having your library of content, your modules that somebody can like point clients to. Like you don't have to be the matchmaker on all that stuff. But when there's like a really unique question or a need for some new modules to be created, that's where Justin comes in.
Exactly. And the templates feature, by the way, holy cow. I did this experiment, okay? I don't know if I did this experiment. I was like, I'm going to do 20 free consulting sessions. And I wanted to test the limits of Clarity Flow with this. So we can talk about this if you want.
We're probably going to produce a bunch of bug reports on this one, but that's okay.
No, it wasn't so much like the technical aspects. It was more just like, what can I do with this platform? And so we did an intake survey. We had 20 people respond within hours, right? So sent it out to email list. 20 people responded. We took those 20 people. We gave them their private channel on Clarity Flow. They had to do an inboarding survey. And that inboarding survey was basically just like, you go to the doctor, they say, okay, what's your weight, what's your height, blood pressure, heartbeat, all that kind of stuff. That's what we asked, but from a business perspective. So revenue, what are your challenges? What have you tried to remedy those challenges? So I had all that information in front of me. And they fell into like 3 categories. So, and all those categories, by the way, fit very nicely in my continuum of I follow you online, I love your content, I get your emails, how do we work together? And so what I did was I created 3 separate responses. And there was only the first 3. No one really had the conversion problem, so it was just the first 3. And I separated those folks into buckets, recorded each one live, saved those as templates, and then basically said, okay, the people who fit into these categories, I'm going to respond with this templated response. And so it was amazing to watch, like, holy cow, I just helped 20 people in probably 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And the responses coming back from people, and I had no intention of doing this, but we actually ended up converting 2 of those 20 people into our full coaching program.
I love it. Because it's like, it's still the right advice for the right question.
Yes.
But you're just giving the same answer 20 times, which happens all the time with coaches,
yes.
Right?
And I did have a little bit of like gut check with that, because I was like, is this okay? Is this okay?
Right.
I was like, of course it's okay. They have the same problem.
Right.
It doesn't matter that you're not sitting there re-recording it every single time when you're going to say the same thing.
I love
And
it.
I just thought to myself, man, you, you could do a lot with that type of business model.
For sure. For sure. Super exciting, man. I mean, at some point, I even want to like get you back on here at some point and talk more about like how you're actually structuring your programs and stuff on Clarity Flow. But I do want to like kind of get it into your personal story a little bit, get the backstory. You mentioned that you've been running coaching programs since 2016. I know that you have previously worked on marketing agencies. Yeah, like what is your background and what were you doing in the years before you ever even started coaching in any form? And what was the thing that sort of like led you to say like, hey, maybe I can start coaching someone?
I was tired of being broke. So, real quick, my history, I guess, my professional work history. I graduated college 2003 and very promptly went and started working at a church in my area and was 95% of the way to be an ordained Lutheran pastor.
Oh, wow.
So I worked at a church for almost 10 years, and I thought that was going to be my career. And then my wife got pregnant by me.
It's good to hear.
Well, you never know anymore. Anyway, first kid was on the way, and it was like, oh, wow. So what you're saying is this is what I'm going to be making as a pastor, like give or take 10 grand forever. Like this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is it.
Not a lot of growth opportunity.
No,
in that path.
no, hardly any. And so that was like super depressing. And I realized this isn't going to change. So I have two options. One, I can bitch and moan about it and just accept my fate. Or two, I can do something different. And so at my church at the time, I was actually doing digital marketing. Now, we didn't call it that because you can't say marketing in church. It's a dirty word.
Right.
But that's what it was. Building websites or social media, building our email lists. And so I created my first online course and around digital marketing, launched it. And within 12 months of launching that course was making in a month what I used to make in a year. And so it was like, a total mind job to realize that that was even possible. And so long story short, it just kind of built and grew from there. And
how did you start to like get your early audience? Like how did people start finding you in the early days?
Well, so like this would have been like 2006-ish. Social media was still in its infancy. I mean, 2006, Twitter
it was
wasn't
barely even a thing then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hardly a thing at all.
Yeah.
And so we were experimenting with some of that stuff at our church, which was not only profound, certainly for kind of the commercial or business world, but it was definitely unheard of really in the church world.
Mm-hmm.
And so naturally people started asking questions like, you would get invites. I got invites to like speak at conferences. These are church or faith-based conferences. And, I remember like, okay, cool. Well, these people seem to be receptive to this message. So like when I'm not speaking on stage, how do I stay connected with them? And so I took a webinar, a $39 webinar on building an email list and just started having people join my email list. And so by the time I launched my first course, I had an email list of like 2,000 people. And so most of that early audience was entirely faith-based ministries, churches, nonprofits.
Yeah.
And
like,
just kind of grew
like
from there.
live events, conferences, getting your name out there, and then bringing those people onto an email list where you can get back to their inbox instead of just seeing you once and then maybe never seeing you again. Now they hear from you, and then that was the early group.
Totally.
I love
And
it.
I didn't even know you were supposed to sell to people on your email list because I didn't have anything to sell. I had no product for years.
Yeah.
And so building up that goodwill
Yep.
for that social capital for 2+ years
Hmm.
made my launch just go bigger than anybody had anticipated.
Um, okay, so like kind of fast forward, a few years. So you started there, like going from the church to selling online courses, so info products. When did actual coaching, like talking to clients and working one on one or in like live group coaching sessions, like when did that come into play for you?
That was an extension of like, when you have a course, there's three types of, well, there's lots of types of people, but for our purposes here, there's three types of people. There are the people who are going to take that course material, they're going to do everything that is in the course and they will succeed. There are people who are going to see the material and they're going to be like, this is great info, but I'm never going to do this myself. Can I just hire you to do it for me? And then there's people in the middle, right? So they know themselves well enough to know, like, I need the accountability. I need the real time kind of contextualization of this material, but I don't want to pay someone to do it for me. I want to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's where coaching comes in. And so that first program, I had, people who said, hey, just do this for me. That's where our agency started. Then I had people say, I just need a little bit more. Like, I just need a little more encouragement. I need a little more, like, customization for my business on this material that you presented in the course. And so that's where kind of the coaching aspect came in. And I started, again, all this was by accident. I had no idea how to do any of this stuff. And it was just, okay, cool. Well, let's just like meet. Let's meet and I'll show you exactly how to do it. And then you run into the time issue, right? Where you run out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at, oh, wow, group coaching, that's a thing. So then you start exploring group coaching. And that's kind of where I was hanging out really for the last, like I said, since 2016, until it started really hitting my stride with kind of the asynchronous side of things.
Nice. So it's been, several years since you're like really committed to coaching and courses as your business, your career path. What has sort of evolved? I mean, we've talked about like the formats of coaching and the different tools and things, but like especially from the way that you market and brand yourself and also like the funnels that attract your ideal clients. What are some of the, like, what's your main strategy on that today, and how has that kind of changed over the last, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 years?
I mean, the main philosophy is kind of what I've been harping on. I call it the content machine. And it's amazing to me that I've had, I used to be really deep into like marketing automation and speaking at marketing automation conferences and having these really complicated, complex nurture sequences and tags and separate funnels and all this kind of stuff. And you realize, like, I don't know if anyone's experienced this. You just need one marketing automation snag to make you deeply regret all of your life decisions up to that point.
I've had more than one myself.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Like, one tag gets misapplied somewhere, somehow, and it sets off this mousetrap forged in the fires of hell. And, like you said, that's happened more than once. And so finally I was just like, okay, what really is a funnel about? Funnel is about moving people from no to like to trust to convert. Okay, cool. How do I do that in the simplest way possible? And lo and behold, the simpler the better. And Simple actually is responsible now for 2 multi-six-figure courses and a 7-figure agency. And so I haven't really looked back on this overly complicated, marketing methodology that says you have to automate all these certain pieces. It's really kind of simple, where you focus on not just creating content, but content that I stole this from Taki Moore. He calls it the 4 forces. Content that centers on the fears, dreams, frustrations, and wants of your core audience, and flushing everything else. Nothing else matters. So as long as you're creating content that addresses one of those 4 components, you will gain people's trust, which is the prerequisite for a conversion opportunity. And
that's a key question I was actually going to ask kind of throughout this interview, and I'm glad that you just hit on it naturally. And for a coach, the trust factor has to be, really through the roof, because it's like it's not just buying a product off the shelf, and it's not a software tool, it's not a book, it's a I want to spend time with Justin. I want to pick Justin's brain. I want Justin to really at least give me the concepts or the coaching to implement major changes in my business. Like, I need a high level of trust for me to consider that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Clark, who was also at Cabo Press,
Yep.
dropped this bomb on me. I think this was 2 years ago now, and I have not stopped thinking about it since. But I'm paraphrasing it here, but he essentially said, authority activates skill, which equals influence. So your skills are activated by authority. Skills plus authority equals influence. And when he said that, it just clicked, because I thought to myself, man, there's so many business owners who are marketing based off their skills, when that's not what's missing. Meaning they're emphasizing their skills. Now, do you still need to do that? Yes. That's where you demonstrate credibility. But if you don't have authority, and authority primarily comes from trust, you won't ever be influential. And influential is what you need for your marketing to be effective. That's why two people can say the same thing in the same niche, in the same industry, but one person says it and it totally resonates. The other person says the same thing, maybe even says it better, and it falls flat.
Yeah. I feel like this sort of thing is like the kind of thing where there's a lot of like buzzwords flying around, but there is a lot of truth to it. And like the thing that I take away is that like trust, a lot of it is built through just honesty and being vulnerable and telling stories. And these are the things that humans actually connect with. There's going to be the like you said, like demonstrating skill, demonstrating results, having like technical abilities. All that is almost a given, and you can just see it on the surface with anyone. But seeing them on YouTube, hearing them on a podcast, meeting them at a conference, that's what actually builds the trust, I think.
Yes. That vulnerability is so key, especially now where, I don't know what your feeds are like, but mine, it's just an endless stream of like how-tos and tips and all this kind of stuff. And I can't do it anymore.
Yep.
And the stuff that resonates with me the most is like people who just show me their personality. Like, that is killer. I want more of that. Yeah. You have this skill and you've demonstrated credibility and all that kind of stuff. But the fact, like one of my buddies, Eddie, he talks about watermelon. Like 2 out of every 3 posts, he talks about watermelon. I don't know if it's code for anything. I've never asked him, but the dude really likes watermelon. And I love that, because that's the type of content that makes you realize, like, okay, yeah, he's a qualified and skilled copywriter, but he's just a normal guy, like, who just really digs water.
Top 10 watermelon eating tips. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's interesting to me.
Total, dude, me too. I mean, really, because my feeds I see the same marketing stuff. I get a lot of software stuff, startup founder stuff. But honestly, what I'm even more interested in is like, what television shows is that person watching right now, or like what music is that person into? Like, we're humans too. We're not just creating social feeds all the time, right?
That's right.
I love it. All right, the last question here. I'm almost a little nervous to ask it, but I want to ask like all coaches about this, and that's like imposter syndrome, right? Because I think that if you're going to present yourself as a coach, as a leader, you're helping people make change. How do you think about just the whole idea of imposter syndrome? And it's like, you have to have your stuff together, and I'll figure it out, or at least present it that way, or do you? Like, how do you, if other clients are going to trust you with their business, how do you sort of take on that responsibility?
My imposter shows up in kind of a weird way, and I didn't realize this until I started seeing a therapist. But like, I would get really bummed out when somebody would try something. Let's say they would try an experiment that we have in the program, and it would not work out for them. And then they would get bummed out, and inevitably it would be like, oh my gosh, I'm not good at this. I don't know what I'm doing. They didn't see results, and so that's my fault, right? And in some cases, yeah, okay, sure. Some cases, I certainly don't have a perfect batting record as a coach, and I've failed certain clients at certain times. But what I'm starting to realize is that I have to set people up with and give them the tools that I know work. I know that they work because I've used them myself, and I've used them with dozens, maybe hundreds at this point, of other clients. Mm-hmm. So for me, the issue is settled that I know that these do work. And the reality of it is, like, it's almost like a savior complex. You have to be able to, in marketing, we tell our clients you have to attach to the process, detach from the outcomes. Attach to the process, detach from the outcomes. Doesn't mean you ignore the outcomes. It just means as much as possible you emotionally detach from any sort of preconceived, it has to be this way or it's a failure outcome.
Right.
And when I take that approach with clients, that really helps me tremendously, right? Because with marketing, there's so many levers to pull, and there's so many buttons to push, and you can't control all of those as a coach in another person's business. You just can't. As much as I want to sometimes, you just can't. Mm-hmm. So you have to attach, you have to say, I'm going to walk this person through my process that I know works.
Yeah.
And I'm going to detach from the results, and what you give energy to grows, right? So if a client comes back and they're bummed out, and I feed into that energy, meaning they're bummed out at me, and I feed into that energy, that grows the problem. But if I can take a step back and say, okay, cool, let's look at this objectively like a science experiment and see what didn't work, and we try it again, maybe a different variation, a different channel or phrase or a word or
and
whatever.
That's where the best learnings happen, right? Like
yes.
It's almost like even more valuable when you're coaching someone and they go through an experiment and it didn't work. Now you're uncovering an opportunity to find like some new data point about their clients or something that they wouldn't have had before, right? So, you're still coaching them down a path that is helpful.
And the right clients see that. Mm-hmm. They don't get, and this is where, I know we opened the conversation with, like, I've just started saying internally, 250K minimum is what a person needs to be at for them to even really be thinking about a marketing coaching program. Mm-hmm. Like, that's minimum, right? Because they're not in the, I need this to work.
Yeah, this better work. Yeah, like that's a bad place.
Where they're handling you their last crumpled, damp dollar. And they're like, please make this work. No. That is disaster, red flag territory. Don't want it. Mm-hmm. But the right clients see that. They're like, oh, cool. Like, I had a client one time, Adrienne. She was fantastic. We tried this experiment on one of her social media feeds. It totally bombed. Tried the exact same thing to her email list, and it just crushed. She was like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that was going to happen. This is so cool. And I was like, you're my people. That's what I love to hear.
Nice. As we kind of, wrap this up, what are you most excited about right now? And, what's something, I mean, we might even open up a whole can of worms here, but like, what is something that you're just really excited about right now that you don't normally get a chance to talk to with your clients or with your audience?
I'm reading a book right now called 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And, the premise of the book is in the title, right? Going 10X is easier than going 2X. 2X is a function of, so let's say I said to you, hey, Brian, my goal for the next year is to double my revenue. That's 2X. Whereas a 10x goal would be, I want to 10x my revenue. Now, there's nuances to the book and there's context that I'm leaving out here, but essentially, the point isn't to actually 10x your revenue. The point is to say, if I'm going to 10x my revenue, what needs to be true about me and my business for that to happen? And you start answering questions and entertaining ideas that would not be possible if you were just focused on 2xing your business. Mm-hmm. So this is where like asynchronous is a part of that 10x goal because I can 10x that. Thinking through the type of client that we work best with, that's another 10x opportunity. Thinking through, okay, what is Justin at 10x? What does he spend his day doing? What are his activities look like? How long is he working? What's he working on during those hours? And then starting to do those things now. So whether or not, I hit 10x in a year or not, or whatever, that's not actually the point. The point is to become the type of person who can build a business like that.
Yeah.
And that's got me really excited and, thinking through like, what does my business need to look like for that to be possible? Because I've done it once and people listening to this, I guarantee you've had at least one 10x transformation in your business. So you're able to do it.
Yep.
And the book just kind of talks about, the mechanics and the nuances and the context and the step-by-step on how to do that.
I love it. Yeah, we'll get everything linked up. Speaking of that, where can folks connect with you on social media and your business? I know it's a different company. Is it IO?
Yeah, differentcompany.io.
There we go.
It's probably the easiest place to go, or you can always hit up my website, justinwise.net.
All right. We will get everything linked up. Justin, it's great to connect with you again. So many interesting nuggets. We're gonna release this thing in full, but we're also gonna kind of chop it up into the key parts of the interview. So yeah, really excited to get this out there. A lot of good stuff. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the invite, man.
All right.